as every year, I'm very happy to give this talk at SiriusCon. It is a great moment for me to detail all the work done by the Obeo team during the year. So, it is the second day of the SiriusCon event, and so you know that I am here to talk about Sirius. Sirius is an Eclipse project which allows you to create custom graphical tools easily. The spirit of Sirius is to help you to define your domain, map it to graphical representations, and then take advantage of your data semantic. Sirius is one project existing at the Eclipse Foundation for 9 years now. But since 2 years, it has two different flavors, desktop and web. Sirius Desktop must be used when you want to create desktop applications based on Eclipse RCP. It is easy to get started with, as we provide some documentation for that on the Sirius Desktop website. And you can use also the Obeo Designer bundle we prepared at Obeo for you to easily deploy Sirius Desktop on professional environment. Since 2013, Sirius Desktop is part of the Eclipse simultaneous release, and so we continue to provide a new Sirius Desktop version each quarter in March, June, October, and December every year. Sirius Desktop is so highly maintained by the Sirius team, and this will continue in the future. On the other hand, the Sirius project hosts also the Sirius Web part. Sirius Web must be used when you want to create web applications. You can find some more information about Sirius Web on the Sirius Web project, on the Sirius project website, in fact. And as we do for the desktop application, Obeo provides an enterprise version for the ones who need to deploy Sirius Web in a professional environment. For 2 years now, we have been working hard on Sirius Web in the open. The team works to release each 2 months a new version. As you see, the team continues its work on both sides, desktop and web. As I have only 30 minutes left, I will detail in this talk only the web part. You can find what was done this year in Sirius Desktop in the release notes available in the Sirius Desktop online documentation.
So, if I come back to Sirius Web now, it allows you to turn your ordinary data into modern cloud tools quickly and easily. So how do you do that? The Sirius Web project provides first a standard application to create a ready-to-use web application to create and deploy your dedicated editors. Second, the Sirius Web project offers the Sirius components. These components are the building blocks used by the Sirius Web standard application, but they are built to be reused by any application. So the idea for you is to use the Sirius components from Sirius Web to integrate in your own application. You can integrate your diagrams in Wiki, in any website, or in cloud IDs like Thea or VS Code. And then they could be automatically updated when the model will evolve. In this way, we can use Sirius Web to enhance, for example, cloud IDs with graphical editors. Furthermore, as I said, we provide the Obeo Cloud Platform, OCP, as a Sirius Web topic. So OCP is a set of cloud-based products to easily build and deploy modeling studios to the web, but for enterprise use case. So we offer the Obeo Cloud Platform and the Obeo Studio product in the Obeo Cloud Platform. This product is here to create graphical modeling solutions that can be used collaboratively from a web browser. Obeo Studio is built as an open core product relying on Sirius Web. So it is a Sirius Web build extended with enterprise features. For example, we can, and then we can also help you to deploy on public, private clouds or on-premise. And Obeo will include also support and upgrade guarantees with this offer. So you are asking, okay, I got it. I understand what is Sirius Web, what are the Sirius components, but really, Mélanie, I would like that you express what you detail now. What did you guys develop this year? So what is your objective with Sirius Web? So I will try to answer this question. So the first question to answer is to clarify for who we are developing Sirius Web. That is quite simple. When we develop Sirius Web features, we focus on 4 different personas. We have first the application user, the application administrator, then the studio maker, and last, the developer. So these personas have three different goals to achieve. The application user just wants to use a domain-specific studio. The application administrator wants to administrate the running application. And the studio maker and the developer want to build application dedicated to a specific domain. So to reach these goals, this persona perform many different activities. For example, the application user will visualize, navigate, and edit his data, while the administrator will monitor the application. The studio maker will contribute to the standard application new representation, only based on no-code capabilities, whereas the developer will extend the standard application using the APIs, and even he can create his own dedicated application. So if I come back to what we did the previous years regarding these personas, at the beginning of the project in 2020 and 2021, we focus on our work on, first, the application user. Our purpose is that he can use Sirius Web to visualize and share his data. We gave also some love to the studio maker and the developer to provide them a first no-code experience and some APIs to go further to create their domain-specific workbenches. Now, you are wondering earlier what we did this year. So where was our focus? This past year, since end of 2021 and beginning of 2022, we focused on the same personas. First, the application user and the studio maker. For the application user, we want to improve the UX, so his user experience. For the studio maker, we extend the no-code capabilities around diagrams, and we ensure that the developer gets the APIs he needs to integrate Sirius Web in his own application by providing reusable components. So I will go now in some more details about what we did. First, for the application user, and the first thing is what we did to enhance the visualization of his data. So the first in my list is the asynchronized diagram. Since the 2021 October release, it is possible to create so-called unsynchronized diagrams with Sirius Web, where a synchronized diagram automatically computes the elements of the model displayed, and unsynchronized diagram allows the user to select the elements he wants, so according to the rules defined by the diagram. So it is now also possible to drag semantic elements from the Explorer to a diagram. The concrete effect depends on how the target diagram is defined, but a typical use case is to add a graphical representation of the dropped element to the diagram. Coming with an synced diagram, we also added support for delete from diagram. So this action is here to delete graphical elements without deleting the corresponding semantic element in unsynchronized diagram. Next, about visualization, was the fit to screen. So this is a small enhancement done this year. When a diagram is opened, a fit to screen is automatically performed to ensure all its contents are visible. So previously, depending on the coordinates of the elements, it could happen that not all of them were visible when you open a diagram, and no, so this is not the case anymore. Everything is visible at the opening of a diagram. The next one is a small one also for the visualization. It is here to improve diagram readability. So we review the label layout to be able to manage multi-line labels. So this year with Sirius Web, we aim to provide a smooth user experience to smoothly edit, move, reconnect, and layer diagrams. So during this year, the team focused its efforts on removing all the obstacles to create and support component-like diagrams with ports. So this release improves, this year we improve lots of small things to make it possible to create such component-like diagram. And so, for example, now the level of NH can be displayed. We added some feature about ports, so border nodes. No ports were enhanced during this year. It's possible now, for example, you have a kind of snap effect. So user can move the border node only on to the side of its parent node. And then we improve also the layout in order that it works with the free layout and the automatic layout. So all the layouts were adapted to have this same behavior if you are on the free layout or the manual layout. So you see also that it's possible to display the labels of the border nodes. They are visible out of the node now, so this is also a small improvement. And we manage the resizing of the border nodes in order that you can resize and everything will be smooth for the end user. One other thing we started to work on this year is to be able to contribute tables to a Sirius Web-based application. So I will just show you a small video for this one. Okay. So I can run it. You see that this is a small flow example. So you can add a new table representation. And if I start the video, you can see now that we have a small classical feature for tables. Here, this table is just showing all the elements which exist in the system. You see that we can sort elements. It's also possible to see all the elements or just some part of the elements. We manage the pagination. So here, I'm also able to filter the contents. For the moment, the filter is simple. It's just a text filter, but you see that it keeps only one line, so one element which has a high usage value. I can also manage to edit from the tables using the widgets I expected. So here, for example, we manage simple checkbox and multi-select box, and I can also edit directly text from the table. So if I will go back to my slides now. So the tables comes with the classical features like sort options, filter capabilities, or pagination to manage lots of data. Then, we also, as I said, we also try to improve the capability for the application user to navigate easily in his model. For that, we reviewed the Explorer behavior. It is not possible to expand or collapse items in the Explorer without selecting them by clicking directly on the expand collapse arrow icon. When selecting an element for opening representation, it is automatically made visible and selected in the Explorer. And this even works if you just get the URL of a representation, you open it, and it will select automatically also the element in the Explorer. About navigation, we think that to navigate in a web application, it is important to be able to use hyperlinks. So that is why we integrate the hyperlink widget to the from representation. And then, as we're using the representation we developed to develop the standard application, we use it in a new representation, which is a representation view, which lists all the representations that are associated to an element. This one is a freshly baked one, as it is part of the last release we did in May. So our idea here is that what's important for the user is to be able to work on his diagram. So the main representation, the representation in the middle is what's more important for him. So we try to increase the size of the central editor in the standard application by giving the possibility to the user to collapse the Explorer on the left and the properties views on the right. This year also, we work on features to ease and accelerate the data addition. For instance, a new magic connector tool is available on diagrams. It provides an alternative way to create edges between diagram elements. So you can choose the generic connector tool from the source code, from the source nodes palette, and then you can select the target node, and you can choose which of the compatible tools you want to apply in the menu which appears. So even if you have many different possibilities, you have a menu. And if there is only one tool defined, it will be applied automatically without showing the menu. We prepare also the future when we made the form representation by supporting multiple elements as input. So this will allow us to implement in the future some other features by having multi-selection capabilities is really important. For instance, here we manage to use this. Now you can select multiple elements in the Explorer, which are made visible in the detailed view as different tabs. And so this would be a first step, for instance, to implement such feature existing in Sirius Desktop, like select a diagram in the Explorer to get its properties displayed in the detailed view. So we will be able to manage the view to view semantic elements and also some graphical elements that are attached to an element. Okay, so this was for the application user. Now we will move to the Studio Maker point of view, and we will see what are the possibilities for him now. So release after release, we continue to improve the Web Studio definition capabilities. For example, now nodes can have a dynamically computed size using the size expression, which depends on the current state of the semantic model. So if the expression is present and produces a positive integer, it will be used as both for the width and the height of the node in pixels. So you can see here in the example that I have different size according to the value of the size expression. So as I said, we work hard to make component-like diagram available in Sirius Web. When you see component diagram, you imagine containers with border nodes. So it is also possible to define border nodes in the Web Studio definition node. When you create also a graphical representation, you might need to style your elements differently. So that is why we implement also the possibility to configure text style on labels. For a node, you can make a label bold, italic, underline, or strike so. We add also some more style possibilities on container nodes. For example, nodes which uses images can now have a border with all the relevant properties of a border. So you can change the color, decide the size, the radius, and the line style. And we add something more, which is it is also now possible to configure all properties of a node's border in the web-based diagrams, including the border and line style. So from the web definition, you can also work on the border of your container. Everything is available to manage that. We continue our work to improve as well the compatibility layer, which allows to reuse Sirius Desktop specification files. I mean ODesign within Sirius Web. So we add support for the navigation model operation from Sirius Desktop. So you see in my example here that we are able to reuse a navigation tool to open and navigate between a parent diagram and its subdiagram. And we also support, we also add the support for the operation action. And then if you define this kind of elements in the ODesign file, when you will import it to Sirius Web, the actions are converted to regular tools available in the palette of the front end. So we work on tools, and we improve also the compatibility layer by enriching the tools support, as we added support for the tools preconditions and the post selection. So tools precondition are the one you want to use when you want to conditionate, when you want to condition a tool to an if, for example, instruction. And the post selection would be the one which will be executed after the tools would be executed. So, as I explained earlier, Sirius Web provides a default standard application, but it is built on the Sirius components, and so it provides many APIs to build your own application. So, since the end of 2021 and the December version of this year, Sirius Web released its first stable version. And so, since the end of that year, we make sure to not break too much API for our Sirius components customers. So we decided to switch from semantic versioning to calendar versioning to reflect the maturity of the project. And our development cycle for each release consists of 6 weeks of active development and 2 weeks for various minor improvements. So on the stable release, you have year-months.ho is done. We will start working on the next one, which will be the year-months+2.0. So during the preparation of the next release, we improve the current branch to prepare for that release. And as a result, we have multiple intermediate releases. And those releases should be considered as milestones for the next stable one. So the stable one will be the .01. The changes made are tracked in the change log, where you can find a fine-grained list of all the API breaks, new features, bug fixes, and the various improvements we did. Okay. About APIs, since the last release, which was a few days ago, we contributed a new API to export SVG from a diagram. So you can get also an SVG from the UI. We managed to add an action for that in the front end. And by selecting the export menu in the UI, you can export the current diagram to an SVG. So Sirius Web comes with a default application, but above all, it relies on many reusable components, and Sirius Web depends on the Sirius components for that. For a clear status about what is part of these reusable components and what is part of the default sample application, we renamed the namespaces of the project from Sirius Web to Sirius Components. And so the projects we add, which were Sirius Web API and Sirius Web Core API, were merged into Sirius Components Core. And since there was no difference in scope between both projects, and neither of them was strictly limited to an API. So since we have validated that most also our projects can be reused outside of Spring environments, we have removed the Spring part from most of our project names. Other enhancements developed by the team during this year were around the workbench. We went one step further for the one who wants to reuse the Sirius Web workbench to build their own application. The integration of the details view in the workbench is not limited to semantic objects anymore. No, any object can be used as the input of the details view, and we provide the identifier of all the objects in the selection. This may include graphical elements such as nodes, edges, representation, or anything selected in the Explorer, for example. Moreover, the workbench no longer hard-codes the views which are visible in the left and right side panel. Instead, each application must explicitly configure its workbench using the new workbench view contribution element. In the end, from now, thanks to the work done by the teams this year, you can reuse the Sirius components to integrate only what you need in your application. For instance, here we integrate the diagram editor in an Angular application we already have developed by the past. And so we are able to provide diagram edition capabilities directly from the browser to an existing application, which were in the past mostly a visualization application. So this was what we did. And now I will try to explain what we have in mind and what do we want to do for the next year. So, not a surprise regarding our personas, we'll continue our effort on the navigation and edition for the application user, and for the studio maker, we will try to extend the no-code capabilities. So, for the application user, we'll focus first on the navigation use case. First small action that we want to add is we want to add a small action to activate or inactivate the link to synchronize the Explorer view with the editor according to the selection. Today, the link is always active, so the purpose here will be to make it disabled by the end user as what it exists in the Eclipse platform. We will also implement compartments in diagrams. So compartments are kind of special containers to stack children mapping either horizontally or vertically. So the idea is to give the possibility to the end user to expand and collapse the different compartments to view only what he wants. So next one, which is about navigation. An important feature for the navigation, we want to integrate a semantic browser view to the standard application. So this view provides tools for navigating into the model. For each selected item in the Explorer or on the diagram, the semantic browser view presents all the references for that element, for instance, reference relationships and all representations in which the element is involved. Last focus for us, for the application user for this next year, will be also about the edition. We want to accelerate the creation of projects by providing a mechanism to contribute templates. A template should let the studio maker configure a project. For example, clicking on the flow template should create a new project, give it a name, create a new model inside along with some representations, and redirect the end user to the newly created project. on a specific representation. So it will be also possible to limit the available domains and the representations according to a template. As such, with only one click, the application user would go from nothing to a diagram on a specific model. We will introduce soon also the possibility to manage the bend points of an edge with the free layout. So the edge layout will be kept after elements move. So this is a small preview of what it would look like. And as we are managing bend points, it will be also possible to reconnect edges. So we'll provide also the capability to define reconnect tool in Sirius Web. And thanks to the bend points, the edge layout will be kept after the reconnection. Next improvement we have in mind for Sirius Web will be also to allow intermodal references. So you'll be able to reference elements defined in other models. So you'll be able to manage some project with a library and using this library in another project, or maybe on the same project with two different models. And finally, as our purpose is to accelerate the edition, we will introduce also a mechanism to Sirius in order that the specifier will be able to contribute its own keyboard shortcuts. For example, it will be able to create a keyboard shortcut for deleting an element with the del key. So this last enhancement led us to the no-code part and the different things we have in mind to develop in the coming year. The first thing that will be done will be to introduce a reuse mapping concept in the web diagram definition. It exists in the classical or design configuration, but it is not yet supported in Sirius Web. So supporting this will help us to simplify the specification of recursive multi-level elements, and it will allow to simplify in general complex specification. Sirius Web already supports also the conditional style today. We will go one step further by adding to Sirius Web the same customization capabilities as the one provided by the style customization in Sirius Desktop. And so this will allow a more fine-grained customization of styles to customize, for example, a specific aspects of the element style, like a single color. The next one is an idea we have which does not exist yet in Sirius Desktop. So here, our idea is to provide a new mechanism to Sirius Web to allow the Studio Maker to provide SVG to represent an element and give the possibility to provide dynamically some parameters to this SVG. For example, to define a label position at a specific coordinates on the image. And so the purpose is to be able to customize SVG easily with some dynamic configuration. Okay, this one is the first step to improve the Studio Maker experience. So we're developing a new WYSIWYG editor to create form representations, and I will show you a small video for that. Okay, just a second. Okay, so here we are on the web definition part. So we create a new view, and you see that now it's possible to create a new, in the future, it will be possible to create a new form view. And we're implementing a new editor to create this view. So you see that it's a kind of WYSIWYG editor. You can drag and drop widgets directly on this view, and it will allow you to see what you are creating in live. You can, for example, have different. You can manage the order of your different widgets. You can edit the different properties of the widgets. Here, for example, we are changing the foreground color of the text widget, and we're going back to test it to see what it looks like in the end on our central unit. You see that now it's a green. Not green. It's a red one. So what we are trying to do here is to improve the Studio Maker experience in order that it would be more smooth to create, and you can see directly what you are creating. And as our purpose is to contribute some more advanced widgets, we will also, on this formal presentation, we want also to integrate two very useful widgets that are the reference and the list widgets. So we aim also to be able to contribute charts as widgets in a form, so in a properties view also, to allow the application user to get a kind of dashboard views and to be able to create some kind of dashboard views. And finally, as usual, we will continue to extend our APIs to ease the developer experience to extend the standard Sirius Web application or to integrate the Sirius components in their own application. Mainly, one thing we would do that would be interesting for you is that we will release publicly our CI extension to integrate Sirius Web in Thea. So since 2 years, Sirius Web is developed as an open source project within the Eclipse Foundation. 2 years ago, we were really excited to share it with the community, and we want to see it grow. We want to see it being used by everyone to create other domain-specific tooling. So as Sirius Web is open source, it is easy to use it, and as open source powers open source, I am really happy to announce that Obeo will develop a new cloud-ready UML2 modeler based on Sirius Web, and this work is funded by the CEA list as part of an internal project named DeepLab. And the first version of the Papyrus Web project will be released under the EPL v2 license, so an open source license, for the end of this year. So to sum up, what is the next step for you? It is simple. You can just give Sirius Web a try. For that, two solutions. First, you can build and run it by yourself. It is open source. You can go to GitHub, get the source code, build it, try it. Or easier, if you want to just test it fastly, you can test it with our free sandbox. There you can test all the features I showed you before. And if you want to try it by yourself, just create an account on our online demo, so demo.obeostudio.com. So I did not get a chance to do a demo of Sirius Web during this talk, as I tried to describe more what are the features we're focusing on, but you are lucky, as the next two talks will demonstrate how you can build an application dedicated to a specific domain thanks to Sirius Web. The first one, by Frédéric Madiot, will show how to create a modeler with no code. And then Stéphane will show you how you can customize and extend Sirius Web to create, as a developer, an advanced specific application. So to wrap up, you should know that all the developments I showed you are made available thanks to our precious customers sponsoring the Sirius Web open source project. So do not hesitate to join the party and become a Sirius Web supporter. It is as easy as sending me an email or just contact the team. So thanks all, and I welcome any questions you may have.
Thanks for those insights. Quite interesting. And we already have a few questions, but I'm sure we will have more. Just as a reminder, please use a Q&A window, so I will find them easily, and you can also vote for your favorite one. So first question for you, Mélanie. Is there a transfer of knowledge and concepts from Sirius Web to Sirius Desktop?
So it would be nice to see more modern concepts introduced in the long-standing desktop. So mostly, no, the idea is that we will add some more feature in Sirius Web, but those features might not be integrated to Sirius Desktop. So the transfer will be in the other way, mainly from desktop to web. But if you have some use case that would be interesting, do not hesitate to ask us, and we might go this way in the future. But right now, it's not in our roadmap.
Okay, thanks, Mélanie. Next question. What are the size limits of Sirius Web models in terms of nodes and relations?
So mostly they are the same limits as the one you have with Sirius Desktop. So this is our purpose. Sirius Web would be able to manage at mostly the same size of elements as the one you have with Sirius Desktop. And as it's a web application and that maybe it will open to some more use cases. Our purpose in the future is to be sure that it will be able to manage much more elements. So you can expect the same as the one you have today with Sirius Desktop for the moment, and in the future we'll try to improve that.
Okay, thanks. And there's a second part for this question, or actually maybe two questions. Are features realized or planned to provide subcontractors extract of the overall model?
I'm not sure to understand the question, in fact. Are features realized or planned to provide subcontractors extract? Not sure if the question is about
maybe is there something easing model sharing?
So there is already some possibilities to share model with Sirius Web. You can share a model just by sharing a URL, and then you can also import or export the model to JSON or to XML, so in textual format. So I'm not sure what you expect, but also, as I said, we will be able to reference model from a model to another model, so you'll be able to cut model in smaller parts. So I'm not sure what the question is, so it's hard to answer.
No, well, same for me. So I tried one option, but well, we'll see. But I'm sure Carsten will contact you. And
yes, do not hesitate if I don't answer a question to send me an email directly, and it would be a pleasure to answer.
Thanks. Next question. Could you say something about the timeline of referencing objects from one document to another document?
About the timeline of referencing, as I said, it would be for this year. The idea is to get this available maybe for September or October. So it will come soon.
Okay, thanks. And we have maybe a related question. Does Sirius Web feature a document generator like M2Doc?
In fact, it does not include M2Doc, but it would be easy to do that, as Sirius Web is Java Spring server based. So it's classical Java. So M2Doc also is classical Java. So you can integrate M2Doc services inside your backend when you develop a specific Sirius Web based application. So you can already manage to use M2Doc within Sirius Web model.
Thanks. Maybe this one. Is the Sirius Web library concept similar to the Capella one?
So Sirius Web and Capella, that's different levels. Capella is based on Sirius Desktop. So Sirius Desktop is here, Capella is over. It's a dedicated domain editor for system engineering. And so it uses Sirius Desktop. The idea is that you can use Sirius Web to create the same kind of dedicated system engineering editor. So you can use Sirius Web to create Capella Web if you want. It's possible.